Now do I hear a sound check? Do I hear a sound check now? Is there sound? No. All right. There's sound. All right. Reasonable. Cool. There's sound. I'm not sure my smashing the party's working. It's like stuttering. Why are you stuttering? So, all right, there's sound there. 2253. 2240. That one's not. All right, there we go. Just doing a sound check, folks. Just doing a sound check. Sound check. All right. So this looks like it's still working. $21.03. All right. All right. I feel good tonight, folks. I feel good. We're going to go on early because we got sound and we're not going to waste this time. Thanks for joining in.
listening to Smashing the Party. This is your host, Nate Bomberger.
Welcome back. We're back tonight. I don't got the right background on, but that's okay. We're going to do State of the World Part 2. My name's Nate Bomberger. This is Smashing the Party. Look, I'm going to... Hold on a second. You know I got to fix this shit. I can't have that funky-ass background. There we go. All right, listen. I'm going to talk about what I was supposed to talk about yesterday a little bit. It's going to be a free-flowing rant, more old school Nate. My brain is clear. My tinnitus has subsided, and I finally have some peace going on up here in my moneymaker. So I want to just follow up with yesterday. I ended up being a little bit angry yesterday. I know. Look, when I start talking about cops and shit, I get infuriated. The Sonia Massey thing has not left my brain, but I do want to just talk about the campaigns right now since, you know, the title of this show is Smashing the Party. We like to look at the parties and what they do and what they say and what they don't do and what they don't say. So tonight we're going to talk about the state of the world in a different perspective, maybe a little bit less anger. I'll try to be a little bit more jovial because I know that people get rubbed the wrong way with some of my antics, and I do on purpose try to rival or, you know, rile you up a little bit. The whole point is to muckrake, make you think, sometimes to instigate. I admit it. Sometimes. So I get messages from people that say they can't watch it because I'm too angry and yada, yada, yada. Okay, fuck it. I don't care. This is my outlet. This is my art, as I like to say. Anyway, state of the world. Yesterday, as I was talking about the things that are going on in the campaign, the thing that happened yesterday, the incident that happened yesterday that I talked about, I watched it when it was happening. Trump was at a journalist convention. It was a black journalist convention, and I mentioned it yesterday. The fallout is happening today. I pulled up a couple sites and was able to just see that the media is also kind of calling out what happened yesterday, which is fantastic. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But what's more important right now is kind of the zeitgeist, the feeling, as I like to say, just to be sacrilegious, the Holy Spirit, the what's in the air, what's in the ether, just to make sure I cover all my bases to offend everybody. And I feel like there is a different feeling in the air than before when Trump's on the campaign trail. I did a whole episode about how frustrating it is for Trump, whether you like him or not. If you're really concerned about policy and you're concerned about things actually getting done, he has a tendency to suck all the oxygen out of the room. Perfect example is if you go back a couple episodes, I talked about Project 2025, and then that day, obviously, something negative happened. And that wasn't his fault, but there's been so many instances where we have an opportunity to talk about policy and Donald Trump pulls some of his antics because he needs that validation or whatever. Again, for whatever reason, he's just gifted at consuming everyone's attention, and that's part of his allure, I guess, for media. What the frustrating thing is, if you're trying to talk about policy, nothing gets done, even if you're on that side. And so what I find interesting about this moment right now is that he's not sucking the oxygen out of the room. He's doing crazy shit, but it's not being all consuming, and it's kind of turning its back on him finally. And some of the more direct, maybe negative attacks that Democrats have been throwing over the bow are landing, like weird and creepy and so forth. So those things that Trump has been used to doing is denigrating his opponents. Now he's faced with a woman, black candidate, multiracial candidate that he has no idea how to identify. She obviously identifies as black, but she has this mixed background, which throws him off and everyone off. And now they've got to determine whether she's really African. I actually saw somebody post in my feed, a friend of mine, that said they're more African than her. And it was something about, oh, Elon Musk is more African than Kamala Harris was the attack. And so, of course, Elon Musk being from South Africa, there's some truth to the statement, but it's almost as if they're saying, all right, she's not black enough and she doesn't qualify. I don't know why this line of attack is simultaneously happening while they're also saying that she's a DEI hire. So again, as I said yesterday, the masters of this dichotomy of thought of potentially having two superpositions, totally different, exactly operating at the same time in the same space, however, diametrically opposed logically. She's simultaneously black and simultaneously not black, but she's black enough to be DEI hire. And so what I find interesting about this is the attacks are landing flat. Even when Obama was campaigning and Trump was doing his antics against Obama and claiming that he wasn't born in America, those attacks landed. They landed. I have friends, people, again, I use the term loosely, friends, the folks that were thinking Obama was born outside of this country. I find it difficult to call that person a friend just because it makes me think their whole ability to process race is completely based off of something that I don't agree with. That's all I'll just say. And so friends of mine, made this claim and it was landing. And so I'm having to talk about Obama and defending the fact that, well, you know what? He was born in Hawaii, his birth. Now, then we get into the nuance of whether it was long form and all that craziness. So you spend all that time defending this crazy conspiracy junk instead of talking about issues or talking about things that maybe could move the conversation forward to where politics is actually talking about solutions and so forth and so on. I know, God forbid, it's not about just electing somebody to get their power nuts off. I kid you not. There are reasons we elect these people. It's not your team wins and then, okay, you get to go online and be a keyboard warrior. I know people think that's all I do. I swear to God, it's something I can do in a second. Usually when I'm in the bathroom, when I'm trolling people, when I'm being a prick, but I don't find it exciting to say, oh wow, our candidate won and now we're just sitting there. It's why you didn't see me kind of rubbing it in that Joe Biden was the winner. All 4 years, I barely posted and talked about Joe Biden. I wasn't a fan of his. I was letting his policies stand for him, and obviously a lot of good things happen. Now, sounds kind of grandiose of me to say, oh, do it the way I'm doing it. But this is the point I'm making is that there's a moment where we actually have an opportunity not to talk about necessarily Trump because his star power is fading. And so I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling a movement right now just based on my non-scientific, non-empirically, gathered, no data was gathered for this. But I'm getting this feeling from just the conversations that they don't have a message without attacking Joe Biden. So for 4 years, they built everything around attacking Joe Biden. And now you have Trump, the Democrats using the weird, the creepy, kind of using the memes against the Republicans. Again, I'm not a meme person, but it seems to be effective at communicating and marketing and kind of winning over the spirit of the digital world, if you will. And so that's winning, and Trump is kind of flailing right now. And yesterday when he was I'm trying to pull it up here. Let me just see if I can pull up yesterday he was at the journalist thing and with the Black Journalist Convention, and just you could see the animus in his body language about one of the presenters that was asking him a difficult question. He made the statement that it was the most rude way to acknowledge him. She didn't even say hi. And of course, there was a lot of people that didn't even want him there. He deflected, made excuses, but it looked really bad. And so normally that would be something that would consume everything and Trump would somehow come out on top and Republicans would rally around him. However, what you're seeing right now is Republicans ducking and dodging, as this headline says from HuffPost. You can disregard HuffPost as a liberal rag if you're one of my conservative viewers. However, this is the feeling that a lot of folks are getting. And again, this is coming from the GOP, that they're saying, look, this is getting a little out of hand. So for me, the state of the world right now is an interesting point where we actually can talk about things other than Donald Trump. We can put him in the weird category. I mean, we're still talking about him, right? But at least we're saying, okay, he's weird. And we're saying that he's creepy. And we're saying all the things that we knew about him are starting to now kind of be the the lead for the description of him. As we get further down the road and he gets more convictions, this is how he's going to be introduced. Donald Trump, former president, 34 convictions, twice impeached. He's going to have all these things that they're going to have to continue to repeat because he keeps on putting himself in a negative light, as opposed to before when he was kind of looking very bravado and tough against another man. Now he's facing a candidate where America's not going to tolerate. I guarantee you women are going to run the other way, watching him to denigrate and disregard her accomplishments. Now, that doesn't mean every woman, there's going to be women on my feed that are going to deny and say that they love Trump and they think the strength is great and Kamala doesn't know anything. But right now, the feeling I'm getting, again, feelings, nothing more than feelings. The feelings I'm getting are that this headline captures it. They're having to shrink away from him because when left off script, the old crazy Joe, the old name calling stuff, it's not Hillary where they have years and years built up of animus and everyone kind of knows. Even Democrats are like, oh, Hillary, we can't run Hillary because she's so negative. That's not, she doesn't have a war chest of, all that ammo build up from years of marketing and research to take down Kamala Harris. And so it's evident that they're trying to do things on the fly and they're falling back to the core easy things which are aesthetics and things that, people use to talk about women in a negative light. And women that have climbed the corporate ladder understand a lot of the language that's being used to describe her and how she got there. They're probably very familiar with this kind of idea that they had to do something extra to get to the top, as opposed to based on their merit or their qualifications. So I'm getting the feeling that the state of the world right now is shifting away from the Trump oxygen sucking kind of burn it all down, media can't get off the scandal train, into a place where we're kind of just saying, okay, he said some weird shit again. And it's basically, they're digging into that. Fox News cut away. And they also ended up showing the Harris convention or the rally, as opposed to, kind of deflecting over to Donald Trump and talking about all his accomplishments like he's Superman. So you're seeing that even the media is saying, look, this is going a little too far and he's off script. And so I think you're going to find them pulling him back, or if it's possible, their handlers are going to try to pull him in and try to get him on script again. But I don't know if it's possible. And I think that one of the things that's going to continue to haunt their campaign, if you're a political operative watching that shit, damn well, that any bad poll you give Trump is going to set him off on a tangent. So if the polling is narrowing and it's becoming narrower and narrower, and Kamala Harris hasn't even picked her VP, we haven't even had the Democratic convention yet, there's a high probability that he sees the writing on the wall, and it's going to make him even more frenetic. There's no way he's going to be able to contain the bitterness and the anger, because as an MPD, a narcissistic personality disorder person, he needs to make sure that everyone's adoring him at all points. And so this is going to, he's not going to have any capacity to stop from his attacks, because he's feeling attacked. He's not feeling his validation. And there's no one that's going to be able to keep him on script. And so I find that this is a scary moment if you're in the Trump campaign, seeing him see his numbers. He's the one to beat in this. Even though Kamala Harris is coming from an incumbency, he's the former president. He's been campaigning for years. He's got Joe Biden. Joe Biden had to step out. It's Donald Trump's election to lose. And I know Democrats might not like me saying that, but so him riding around being able to beat up Joe Biden felt good, and now he's going to have to figure something out about Kamala Harris, and they haven't figured out how to attack her and land something. The know-nothing bullshit is crazy, because simultaneously while she's doing nothing, she's also in charge of the border czar. So again, they're saying she hasn't done anything, but she's also in charge of the border. The border czar is the big thing inside their bubble. What they don't understand is that doesn't resonate with everyone else. The border craze does not resonate with a lot of Americans, specifically ones that don't live near the border. And so I guess Texas and those states along that border are going to be, you know, where all the red meat's gathering. But I'm telling you, and there's going to be people on here that are going to be Republicans saying, no, Nate, it's the biggest thing. It's crazy. It's because the bubble that you're in is telling you that. What they don't kind of go deep enough to think about is that the reason there are any issues with the border is that the border bill that was supposed to be passed was sabotaged by Donald Trump. So it's almost as if they created a political problem that actually causes issues in the real world to support their political narrative down the road. And so now they can say, look, Joe Biden didn't do anything for the border. Look how crazy it is. Well, he's no longer the person. Now we can slap it on Kamala Harris. It makes no sense. And then when you look at the record, it's working in their own bubble. When you look at the facts, though, you can see video after video of Republicans saying, this is crazy. I don't understand why we're sabotaging this bill. We have a bipartisan bill. And so the one attack that you would think would land has no merit to it. And so I think the campaign and the political operatives are scrambling right now. The cult of personality isn't keeping them afloat. And they're starting to see that lead dwindle because they don't have a line of attack. And now here's what they could do. They could have focused on the issues, but unfortunately, there aren't issues there that are going to resonate with voters. The Republicans don't have issues that resonate with voters. Oh, okay, deregulation. How does that help people? Tax breaks. It never helps us when they do tax breaks on the top class. They're always going to them. There's no support for workers. There's no planned, any effort to improve education. It's just to slice it up into vouchers and make everybody have a choice. Now imagine 300 million Americans now have vouchers for their own education. Now we have individual schools for each person. Now, in a virtual world, that's a plausible scenario where you could have individual schooling and an agenda for each student. But the way they're doing this right now is I can't think of any policies that are not based on some religious affinity that focuses on a specific group of people, their beliefs. I can't think of one policy that Republicans have that they can campaign on to reach out across the entire swath of America and say, this is our party. We want to better every single person in the country. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you are. We have policies that are going to help you. And that's not their message right now. And so because they've been so stuck in the cult of personality loop, they're now scrambling. They can't just pivot to say, okay, who cares? Kamala Harris. They're trying their best to say she's exactly like Joe Biden. However, when you look at the things Joe Biden's done and the things that he's tried to do, they're effectively helping Americans, everyday Americans. So I'm hoping that this feeling, this moment in time is real. I'm hoping that it continues to stay where we can actually say, all right, look, how do I get my thing over there? There it is. All right. So I wanted to get on tonight, not only because I had a bad day with the whole sound bullshit, but also because I think it needed to be said that it's not over. And I think a lot of Democrats are excited. A lot of Republicans are nervous. And the race isn't far from over. In fact, Donald Trump's still leading in a lot of polls. And I would be surprised if he's not leading for a while until, and it's going to get closer and closer. He could be leading the whole way up till November. So I know everyone's excited. I'm excited. I love the idea of a black woman taking the stage against Donald Trump and him having to account for how he has talked to other people and see how he works on stage aesthetically with the vice president of the United States. It's going to be hard to tell her to her face that she's unaccomplished. It's going to be hard to tell her to her face that she's a dodo or some of the language that they're using. And so how else is he going to attack her? He can attack her record in California, which, again, is fair game. But they haven't spent enough time to articulate a message where that's going to resonate with the crowd that they're trying to capture, which is going to have to be Democrats and independents. They've got a lock on a large core base of Republicans, but even that is waning. I know folks that are Republican that are just tired of seeing the antics and would like to get back to doing the things that they believe are good. And most of these folks, by the way, are business owners. There's nothing wrong with business owners supporting their best interest. I have a problem with the fact that it's represented by Donald Trump. And I understand they're in a clutch situation where they don't know what to do. So again, if you're a business owner and you're voting Republican, I do understand that your best interests are being served. I understand that it may not be important enough to sacrifice your best interests for the better of the country. I get all that too. But right now you're starting to see that they're just flailing with any kind of coherent message other than the landing thud of every Democratic weird, creepy, or kind of ostracizing their party and their leaders for what to me has been obvious for years. If you've watched this show before, my fable that I love to address all the time is the emperor with no clothes. And it's like everyone literally he's walking around naked, his balls are swinging in their faces, and there's just like psh, psh, psh. And it's like no, everything's fine, and they don't care because they've kind of sold themselves on the lie, and no matter what he does, they have to stick by it. And so, we stand by with our eyes wide open as they're getting teabagged, and they seem to be enjoying it, which is really bizarre. So, I think that we're in a moment right now where we're starting to see cracks in the Teflon Don. He controls the media narrative. Now, it could flip the script in a moment. I mean, if you look at all the things that have happened that normally would give him carte blanche, there was an attempted assassination. Thankfully, it was not successful on the president of the United States. There was a convention where he picked his vice president and was supposed to get a bump. There was barely a bump. And now Kamala hasn't even picked her VP yet. We're coming around the corner to the Democratic convention where delegates and superdelegates and all the crazy is going to happen in Chicago and unify. There's going to be a bump there. No matter who she picks, that person's going to be a attack dog. They're going to be able to go one-on-one with J.D. Vance. And we're going to see that this race is going to tighten up to the point where it's going to make Donald Trump even more nervous, and it's going to make his handlers more nervous. This is my state of the world right now. It could be wrong. Again, the last time I did one of these things and said, hey, look, we have a moment in time to talk about Project 2025. Within 3 hours, that moment was gone, and we were talking about something else. Project 2025 still in the mix, and it's been now, thrown out the back window, thrown out with the garbage as far as marketing goes for Republicans. But that moment was very quick, and it came and went. And I don't know how long this moment's going to happen. I could wake up tomorrow, but the feeling I get, the zeitgeist, the Holy Spirit, as I like to blaspheme for my Christian friend. Jokes, come on. It's the Spirit. It's the Spirit. It's not the Holy Spirit. Jokes. I know you guys had a rough week with the Olympics. We're not going to throw more oil on the, gasoline on the fire with more blaspheme. It's like, oh my gosh. I don't think your God's fragile enough, but whatever. But, I think we're at this point right now where it's just looking very difficult for Republicans to assemble, even after their unity convention, and assemble a narrative that will stick. And my hope is that Democrats keep their pedal on the metal and the pedal to the floor and continue to launch the attacks. I would like to get back to talking about the future, and I would love to see some more conversation about some of the larger things like injustice in America with police brutality. I'd love to see more conversation about what's happening in Palestine with Israel and the genocide that's happening there and how they've created an apartheid state that we've allowed to live. My Jewish friends that watch this, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with Judaism. There's nothing wrong with Israel. There's problems that the state of Israel is doing and has been doing that put people into a type of life that no one would want to live. And so I will continue. I haven't really gone deep on that because I know how volatile a thing that is, and the algorithms literally kick you out for when you talk about Palestine. But I'll say one thing about it. It's interesting when you watch the news, they talk about the Israel-Hamas war as opposed to the Israel Palestine war, and Hamas has the negative connotation. So even in the framing of it, it's negative. Even on newscasts that may seem objective, it's Hamas. And of course, Israel continues to control the narrative. Recently, there was just another Gaza reporter, journalist murdered, and they're celebrating it. And this isn't me. This is news. So, I'd love to see the president talk more about what's going on there. That's a moment in history I'd like to see change. I'd love to see, I don't care, 2-state, 1-state, whatever, but let's put a real democracy there and see Palestinians living side by side in the land that they live, and not have people remotely that aren't even from the area just come in and take their land. I'd love to see her talk more about that. And I think there's an opportunity for Kamala Harris to detach herself from the kind of hardline support of Israel that Joe Biden had to take, and maybe kind of have a softer approach that would appeal to some of the young voters. So that's another advantage that she has right now, is that she can do that pivot, which young voters are really hoping that she'll make that pivot to say enough is enough. We're going to stand with Palestine, and we're going to not continue to support this unjust war and this genocide of people, and watch as the world watches this population shrink in their cages, and we continue to act as if Israel is not an apartheid state. Some people find it offensive they're even in the Olympics. So I want to go, I went a little bit deeper on that than I want to, but the truth is I'd love to see her position herself to be that more progressive president. Now, this is going to look radical to Republicans, which they're trying to frame that too, which isn't sticking. How this radical thing for folks that are independents, every time you look back on Obama, they say he was the most radical leftist president ever. Not true. FDR was. And Obama, again, there was nothing radical about Obama, what Obama did. They got fired up when he does his executive orders, but then Trump came in and did just as many or more. And so, there's all kinds of inconsistencies when it's the other team for people that can't see it objectively. This is where politics, politicians kind of thrive. They thrive on getting the folks the red meat so they get out and vote and pissing people off. They'll use religion, they'll use abortion, they'll use all those issues. They call them wedge issues for a reason, because they divide like an axe. They split wood, split the fabric of our country right down the middle with these issues to ensure that they get elected. And we get played every time. I kid you not. If you stopped and thought about the policies that you cared about, there's a lot of folks that would probably change parties if they weren't so tied to this phony belief that it's a team thing and they've got to stick to the guns no matter what. My grandpa's a Republican. My granddaddy was a Republican. My great-great-granddaddy. I mean, it doesn't matter when the parties change sides, and now you have one party that advocates for billionaires and one party that doesn't. Now, let's just talk about that. That's a lie. One party that does and one party that doesn't. They both cater to billionaires. Melinda Gates just pledged $52 million to Kamala Harris's campaign. Elon Musk is pledging $45 million. This is crazy that we're just kind of like rolling out of our tongue that these folks have a vote, yet they can also contribute that much money because of Citizens United, because of these campaign laws. We've essentially made it so it's a pay-to-play republic. And we're okay with that. That's a whole nother issue I'd love to see the president talk about. One of the things that appealed to me for Obama was that he was like, I'm not taking PAC money. He started out that way. And of course, he ended up changing it. But he launched his campaign with the notion that it was largely small donors. And I like that idea. Kamala Harris is way past that kind of hard line. But these are things I'd like to see change. And both parties are they're fucking sucking at. Which is that they, the money's it's too much. It's too alluring, and you have to take the money to compete because the other guy does. As long as the other guy does or the other gal does, you got to do it. But state of the world right now is interesting because we're able to kind of watch Trump self-destruct slowly. Now, he is a magician in the media. He's always made a comeback, and he's always able to kind of flip the tables. I was nervous when he was running against Hillary. I said it to many people. They encouraged me to relax and chill out, and I'm crazy. And I said, I'm not really confident that Hillary's going to win. And, of course, she didn't. And so I'm not going to get overconfident here, but there's a good trajectory right now. And I think that if you continue to see Trump scrambling right now, the state of the world for Republicans is going to look worse and worse. And one of the other predictions I'll say, and I know you've probably seen this in the media because I think I saw a tweet about this, but I thought about it before, so I'm going to state it. You're going to start to see his support peel away once he starts digging too deep. They've gone deep, but if he can't bring him the presidency and he can't bring that power to the ticket, you're going to see them walk away because they're is just as hungry for power as he is, and they've had this albatross around their necks for so long that at the first opportunity for cracks in that, I think you're going to see a vacuum around Trump where people are just going to step back and say, yeah, well, and they're going to just him and haw and let him dig his hole, and the support's going to drop. Now, this may sound way optimistic for some folks and may sound negative to some folks, but this is different than every single other time Donald Trump has faced an opponent since he began his whole craziness 10 years ago. I don't think that this is going the way the campaign wants it to go, and I'm interested to see how this continues and if Democrats continue this line of attack and make it more specifically about policies and tying the successful policies that Joe's done and talk about some of the issues that Republicans are using against them and say, look, these are issues we wanted to solve, but you sabotage it. That kind of messaging, and apparently you need to put it in pictures and memes. But right now, today, not only is my tinnitus in great shape and almost non-existent today, praise Ganesh, but it's also a moment where we have a little bit of oxygen in the room. Trump's not sucking it all out, except he's kind of maybe has put in a bag over his own head and cutting off his own oxygen. And he's doing that by just kind of digging holes and showing who he is, and that he doesn't have the emotional capacity or the emotional maturity to handle confrontation by someone he deems in his mind as less than him. And it was so apparent watching that last interview with him. And I don't think that's going to stop making the rounds for a while. Again, a while in the media is probably 48 hours until the next thing happens. But right now, if you're liberal, you're probably excited. I would say calm down. You're still losing this race. Donald Trump is the one to beat. He's still ahead. If you're Republican, and conservative, and you're a Donald Trump supporter, I would say you probably are a little bit nervous, and you probably should be, because even though Donald Trump is winning, and in all, most polls, he should have this licked and done. They're narrowing, and you're watching your candidate scramble. And so my take right now is that it's, we're going to see after the convention what kind of bump she gets, whether that candidate, that VP gives her a bump, but there will be a bump after the convention, and we'll see how the debate goes. If she can land on the debate, I'm going to say signed, sealed, and delivered. It's over. It's not going to not motivate Trumpers to come out and vote, but it will motivate Democrats to get off their ass and say, oh my gosh, this person's exciting. We're dying for that Obama candidate. I promise you, we're dying for that puncher. We're dying for strength. We're dying for somebody. The reason it was so painful to watch Joe Biden was because we watched him not be able to defend the policies that we believe in. And so we now have a person that can talk coherently and defend these policies. And so I think Democrats are hungry to see somebody shut down the blabber fucking Gatlin gun scandal motherfucker that is Trump and completely take his name out of the conversation. Again, no political violence, people. Again, when I say take out of the conversation, I mean to have him not on the ballot or not on the, not be the victor in November, not take the president's in 2025. So that's what I mean by that, just in case we have any wackos. I'm not supporting political violence in any manner. Although I've said political violence against property depends on the need and how much damage. There you go. There's a soundbite for you. No, I'm kidding. No political violence. Property's bad too. Anyway, so I don't know. Let me know what you think. I don't know if you guys left comments. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Like I said, one of the things I'm really excited about is that I'm feeling great. These last couple weeks have been scarier than hell. I kind of turn into a recluse when I get sick and I'm not very good. Anxiety pops in, depression, fatal thoughts, not suicidal thoughts, but like, oh my gosh, what have I done with my life? So it's an eye opener. I kid you not. I go through these flashes of like, okay, what happens if this is like the worst thing in the world, and what can I do? Have I done anything? And so I will say I feel great today, and I'm excited to get back on live, and I appreciate everyone's support. There was a lot of support from folks that kind of were aware of my situation, that were like excited to see that I got some relief. No idea how other people get relief, but I will say download. There's a whole host of songs on iTunes or Spotify that are called Tinnitus Relief. They're magical. It turns out a lot of bands I like are actually good for tinnitus because they have high timbre and high sounds in it, like Churches and synth pop and all that shit. So it's kind of cool that, I'm just going to have music in my ears for the most part. So I am feeling great. I hope if anybody else is watching and they suffer from that, I promise you, I have a whole new sympathy for the ailment. It is no joke. You can walk around, look normal, and nobody knows that there's total chaos going on. Your body's in a 5-alarm fire if you're going into fight or flight mode like I was. So, feels good to be back. But state of the world, we'll see if my prediction's correct. Again, I'll sum it up for you in closing. My thought is that the Trump campaign's in trouble right now with their candidate. They're not sure what's going on. Let me see if I can get a fancy zoom in. There we go. The Trump campaign is not sure what's going on. They're not sure how to attack this candidate. They built all their political capital up to attack Kamala Harris, to attack Joe Biden, and that is going to fail because now it's Kamala Harris and they don't know what to do. And so my thought is that they are going to be in a situation with a continued candidate that's finding out the polls are closing, more frenetic, more out of control, more attacks, and it's going to look worse and worse for Trump unless he can get it together, look presidential. We know that's nearly impossible. But right now, Kamala Harris is nipping on the heels of Donald Trump. There's no advantage. Again, still in the losing, still behind in the polls, but certainly moving up. And I think it's a great moment for liberals, but do not count your chickens before they hatch because we know how that works. Got to get out and vote. I'm excited about it. I know people that watch this know that I get a lot of play out of talking about Trump, but I really would love to talk about how we fix homelessness, how we fix education, how we make college affordable, how we make trade schools affordable, how we make people that don't go to trade schools or don't go to college, their lives affordable, how we make people that are at the lowest rung on the totem pole experience life and thrive in this great rich country like they should. There should be our bar for poverty in America should be higher than everywhere else. Like, to be poor in America, we should think that you should be rich anywhere else. We have that much money. You look at the amount of money we spend on defense. You look at the amount of money the Pentagon can't account for, which is trillions of dollars. This is the amount of money that we could easily solve many, many social problems and have no change in the quality of life for the folks that are bitching about it, and improve the quality of life for folks that have no quality of life. So I'll get back into policy more on the next couple weeks, I promise. I know I've been kind of stuck in a loop and playing reruns, but tonight's live, and I appreciate all the folks that watched. I'm back. I'm feeling good. Let's continue the momentum. If you're on the Republican side, I really hope that your party is able to do what the Democrats have done and replace Donald Trump with somebody that's not an authoritarian, that's not a NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder. It's easy to look up and figure out what qualifies for that. Very easy diagnosis. If the person hits all the metrics, you can call it what you see it. So I'd love to see Republicans do what Democrats did and have him bow out. That won't happen, but it would certainly show that they actually care about the country as opposed to uplifting the cult of personality and continuing down this Donald Trump filleting this whole weird cowardice bullshit that they're all pulling. So love to see it. Last but not least, thanks again, everybody. I know I talked to some folks today that said they watched me on YouTube. I still am blown away because I only have 60 fucking followers on YouTube. So all these people tell me they watch me on YouTube, and I only have a couple subscribers. So I don't know how it works, but I'm happy with it. Thank you for watching. We're going to eventually just go to YouTube just because Facebook's created a lot of problems for hacking, spam. I've seen probably 10 friends today get hacked on Facebook, and these people run businesses and so forth. So to me, Facebook is more of a marketing, pure marketing thing, and not much of a social aspect. And so I don't know if I necessarily want to continue to stream on it, even though I have great numbers there. It's just becoming more and more of a place that's not fun to hang out when you're talking politics. And I know I add to that, by the way. I'm kind of adding to the steam in the room and the heat in the room when I'm talking about it. But for what it's worth, that's the plan. Again, once we're feeling better now, so I'm hoping to get some of this stuff done this week with the blog and all the things I've been saying I've been doing. I literally was fucking knocked out. I mean, not knocked out as in sleeping, but a zombie, just wondering what the fuck's going on in my head with this ringing. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying and debilitating. And so I will say, to be back is so good. I'm thankful for every single moment of silence that I have for the rest of my life. And I will also want to make sure that I can continue to do the things that I want to do while I'm able to do it. It really kind of woke me up to something that happened in my family when my dad was about ready to retire. He ended up getting a diagnosis for Parkinson's, and then it kind of derailed all the things he wanted to do. And so when you have an ailment that kind of changes your whole perspective like that, again, you can laugh and joke and say, it's not cancer, it's not liver, it's tinnitus, but my brain is how I make money. And so not having full brain function or the ability to focus, which is already a struggle for me naturally, without some of the additional help that I have, it was very scary. But it woke me up to say, look, dude, you had fun, you fucked around, you did a lot of shit. But what do you want to do here, and where do you want to go? So I hope to continue to have good health. I hope to continue to deliver and raise the bar. I haven't done a lot on this show to raise my bar with fancy, some fancy graphics and everything else. But there's interviews and all kinds of shit that I can do to open this up. I love my rant. It's for my mental health. But people want to see me talking to other people. I get it. I'll do it eventually, somehow, someday, maybe. But in the meantime, I'm just happy to be back, and I'm happy to have the support and love. Facebook numbers are crazy. Right now, Smashing the Party has more reach than it did before. So it's about 125,000 a month with all my profiles. And that's no pay. That's no pay. And so you look at the views, you're like, wait, I don't see a lot of views on that. Or you may not see a lot of likes, but I don't understand it either. But the numbers show that my reach is far. Now, when you look at the 3-second watches, they're up 1,000%. All these little things that you can use to measure. But again, zero money on marketing so far, and it's good. So I only tell you that because while my YouTube struggles, Facebook seems to be growing, and people watch and people comment, and I'm on the street and people say, hey, I know you run a podcast. I listen or I don't listen or whatever. So I know that I'm getting in front of folks. But I, in order to kind of get an engine behind this where I can actually hire people to do things and kind of make a whole platform, like a real one, not just me, we need to get on YouTube and grow those numbers. So we've got a 5-year plan, folks. In the meantime, I appreciate the support, appreciate the love. Hopefully you all heard it tonight. Apologies with the technical difficulties, but it's good to be back. Feeling great. I'll see you guys on Monday. I may or may not do something this weekend. I have a couple interviews queued up that I've just been postponing because of my health, and also some other issues. So we'll see what's going on. But After Hours isn't dead either. Thanks for checking in. All those folks that sent me messages of support. Jason, Tom, Aaron, Dave, everybody else, and I can't think of all the names, but I loved it. Thank you so much. And I'm back. I'm fucking back. I feel great. So keep your eye on the ball. Dig in. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, and stay safe out there. All right. Peace.